Washington has like the largest population of people with MS because of it.
I appreciate it.
A lot of people with MS move here because the weather is very conducive.
It is 6 p.m. on August 8th, 2026, August 18th, 2026. I'm call this regular city council meeting to order. All council members are present. So if you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I also want to acknowledge that we, the city of Lacey, are on the ancestral land of the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian tribe and the Squax Indian tribe. I also have a amended agenda recommendation. I would ask that the council add a new item 6B, be our new council member recognition, the council member recognition, and remove item 12A in the public works bidding process. So we're going to be adding 6B, council member recognition, and removing 12A public works bidding process.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries. We've approved our amended agenda. And first up on our approval of our amended agenda is public recognitions and proclamations and presentations, which is a proclamation for Overdose Awareness Day.
City of Lacey official proclamation. Whereas International Overdose Awareness Day shares the message that overdose deaths occur in all communities and among people from every walk of life, and
whereas the City of Lacey stands beside and uplifts those who have lost loved ones to an overdose and those who have a substance use disorder and are diligently working toward recovery, and
Whereas overdose deaths are preventable and can be caused by alcohol, over-the-counter medications, stimulants, opioids, and other substances, and
Whereas, like many communities across Washington state, the national opioid epidemic and other overdoses pose a significant threat to public health in Lacey, and people who experience an overdose deserve quality care and kindness. And
whereas the City of Lacey has joined with other Washington communities in the One Washington Memorandum of Understanding to access funds vital to responding to the opioid epidemic in our community, and
whereas Washington State has implemented a state opioid response plan, and whereas anyone can visit the statewide resource, www.stopoverdose.org, and the recovery helpline at 1-866-789-1511 for 24-hour information and help, and
Now, therefore, I, Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the Lacey City Council, do hereby proclaim August 31st, 2026 as Overdose Awareness Day in the City of Lacey, and encourage anyone whose life has been impacted by a substance use disorder to call the Washington Recovery Helpline at 1-866-789-1511. Signed by myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, on this date. And can we have Katie come up and accept it? Or proclamation. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you. Katie Strozik, Opioid and Overdose Response Program Manager at Thurston County Public Health and Social Services. I first want to say thank you to Lacey City Council for doing this proclamation again. It's been multiple years now that y'all have done the proclamation, and it really shows dedication within our community for our opioid and overdose response efforts. I also want to say thank you to City of Lacey for all of the work that you guys have put in on our Thurston County Opioid Abatement Council. It's been a huge lift to get our opioid settlement dollars out the door, and we really couldn't do it without collaborative efforts without our jurisdictions. And because of our great partnerships with City of Lacey, we've been able to make great progress on getting contracts out into the community and getting those dollars out to actually help people within our community who are experiencing substance use disorder. So Overdose Awareness Day is really near and dear to my heart. I've lost many friends to fatal overdoses, and I've responded to multiple overdoses myself. Overdose Awareness Day is really a time for us to recognize those who have lost their lives to overdose, but also those who have been impacted by overdose deaths, those who have responded to overdoses in the community, and those who have survived non-fatal overdoses themselves. We're really fortunate in Thurston County where within the last 5-6 years, we've stood up a ton of infrastructure to help folks move across that continuum to make sure that they don't lose their lives to a fatal overdose. So we have multiple new treatment centers in our community, including a new one from Nisqually Tribe that's set to open soon. We have new peer services, we have Franklin Street harm reduction downtown, and we really have worked on growing a robust system of care to meet people where they're at so that we can follow people all along their way so that we can hopefully move them fully into recovery and save lives within our community. So while Overdose Awareness Day is on August 31st every single year, we will be holding our Overdose Awareness Day event on September 2nd from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. downtown at Franklin Street Harm Reduction. I have flyers to leave behind, but it'll have a bunch of community partners. There will be resource sharing, there will be art projects, there will be ways to recognize folks who have lost their lives to overdose, just a lot of great ways for us to come together as a community, memorialize folks who have lost their lives, and also share stories and build relationships and really build community, because we know that when we build community, that saves lives. So thank you again to City of Lacey.
Thank you. Yep, go ahead.
I did, before Katie leaves, I just wanted to say thank you. Your leadership on the Opioid Abatement Council was absolutely critical in getting that work done and would not have gotten done without your help, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So next up on our agenda is the new item, the recognition of Councilmember Nick Dunning, and also to accept the resignation of Councilmember Nick Dunning effective at the adjournment of this meeting on August 18th, 2026. The council has been given a letter that Nick has written. It says, please accept this letter as his formal written notice of his resignation from his position at effective end of this council meeting. As per our policy, we have a motion needs to be made to accept Councilmember Dunning's resignation, and I will make the motion that we do accept his Councilmember Nick Dunning's resignation effective at the adjournment of this meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I want to have some discussion. Go ahead.
I just have a question. So what if we don't accept it?
Yeah, this is I
Do I get a vote?
Yeah, no. Actually, this is really really more of a formal process to really recognize Nick and for his service to the city of Lacey. This is a council policy. It's not anything in law. But I was not here this last week when you made the decision to have this be your last meeting. And so I just want to be able to take this time to thank you personally for all the time you've put into the betterment of our community. I know very well, after on my 17th year of volunteering your time to the city of Lacey and to this council, not only for what happens here in the city of Lacey, but what we all know has become even more and more important these days is on all of our regional boards and commissions, where the really big issues facing our region are being discussed. And it's really important that we have people who understand where our council is, who's bringing that opinion forward and advocating for our community and our council. And Nick, you've always done that. You've always, besides whatever your personal opinion may be on an issue, you've always deferred to where the majority of this council is, and that is the right thing to do as a council member. And I've always appreciated, and a lot of times, a lot of this council, we may not get along on or agree on every single issue, but we respect the process and respect each other to make sure that that process is being followed. And it's been just an outstanding time to get to know you better during this time. And I applaud you for making this very adult decision, really what's based on what's best for the city of Lacey. We've had these conversations, and you've said, hey, there's a lot on my plate. I'm not sure if I can give everything I can to the city of Lacey right now. And for you to be able to, step aside and allow someone else to come up and give their time and energy while you focus on the things that you need to focus on in your life is very admirable. And I think very selfless because, again, you're putting the needs of Lacey ahead of your personal needs. And that is not an easy thing to do. Being a council member and being a local elected official it really is a thankless job. You get screamed and yelled at all the time from people who may disagree with you personally. You get screamed and yelled at people who are things that are completely out of your control. You have nothing, no direct say in. It's not like we're getting paid to do this. We have a small stipend, but for those of us who are business owners, we end up losing more money, by volunteering for your community. And so it is really difficult to do this job and to really put the type of energy that you need to effectively represent your community. It takes a lot of time, and it is, it can be exhausting. And I really admire that you've made a decision on, again, what's best for the city of Lacey, and I will always remember that, and I will wish you well, in your next endeavors, and I know you'll continue to give back to this larger community as always, and so thank you for your service.
So, Nick, I just wanted to say that, I've watched, and I'm more of an observer, but from the beginning, when you came in and just jumped into the budget, first of all, you ran a really good campaign, but it doesn't go unnoticed how much time you spent with the staff. Digging into the budget, going over the numbers with Troy, police department, public works, all the different spaces and areas that you kind of jumped in and attacked so that you can get a full understanding of what is behind the curtain. And that is very admirable. I loved watching you do that. And it inspired me. And then the other thing I like is, having gathered all the information, you set out to make the community as a whole better. I saw your initiatives with the cleanup project. I saw that and I was like, I should be doing that too. And so, and in addition to that, I know you run a business all day long. So I understand what that is and what it means, and to be watching a P&L over here and trying to do this over there, and then making these meetings. And so, I guess what I want to say is you've really poured yourself all the way, and you're an all-in kind of guy. And I love the fact that you speak your mind, and say, wait, well, why is it that way, right? Because I think it could be better. And so I hope you don't stop doing that in the near future. And I'm wishing you, I guess, all the luck and success in your next endeavor.
Good.
So Nick, I think we had a pretty rocky start when you were running and we were running at the same time, and didn't always get along real well, but I've learned to respect you greatly and really appreciate your friendship. I think we've become pretty close friends during this time, and I think what I admire most is that you come at every issue with your own thoughts, your own opinions. You're not parroting anybody else's. You're not taking a party line. You come in prepared for everything and ask a lot of tough questions, make people accountable. And I think that's the job of an elected. And I wish you all the luck in the world in the future, and hope to be sitting with you at some other meetings.
Well, I'm going to keep this short because Nick is trying to get out the door to get to another event. But I've appreciated serving with you, and it seems like a lot longer than just, 2.5 years, but it is. And I was wanting to say some of the things that Lenny said. I really appreciate that, you do your homework and you ask tough questions, and you stay true to yourself. So keep it real.
Well, I'll just make a few comments. I said some things last week, but I want to also say again to you how, I haven't known you very long, but I've appreciated having you as my seatmate and for you being very generous with your advice. I appreciated the times that you backed me up or asked me questions. I know we don't always agree on housing and things like that, but what I really appreciated was you were willing to take the time to at least sit down and talk about it, and I really appreciated that about you. So, Nick, I wish you the best.
Thank you. Always will.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to try to keep this short since I think I said most things last week, but I just want to reiterate that you've been so generous with your time, not just with the city, but with me as a newer council member sitting down and talking about like your hopes and dreams and your vision for the city, in addition to advice on how to approach our particularly council reports at the end of this, at the end of the meeting, since I'm again the last person down here, and yeah. And I just really appreciated you being so open and so willing to share yourself. So thank you and best of luck.
Well, there is a motion and a second. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Nick, do you want anything to forward? We actually have a couple gifts for you. I'll turn it over to Rick. Yeah, go ahead. Here we go. Bring it up to the dais.
Well, a lot's been said tonight. I guess now it's Nick, it's not Councilmember Donahue officially, but that's going to get hard to get used to, but I really do appreciate you coming on as a new council member, right about the time I came on as a new city manager, and learning a little bit together. And I really appreciate you taking the time to ask questions, think, observe, and then really showed where you wanted to come through and see where policy goes, as well as how you would represent the city and serve the city. And one of the things, too, I thought was really nice was the advocacy for folks that were out in the unincorporated UGA, because we have this conversation about city lines and county lines, but really Lacey community is more than just a city boundary, and you advocated for that greater community as well. So do appreciate that and all you have brought to the table, and also how you worked and interacted with staff and supported the staff work. I know they're all appreciative of that effort as well. So again, congratulations on a good run on city council. And it's customary to service on the city council, or leaving the city ranks, is our thank you for serving the city, leaving the city of Lacey's sign.
So we got a quick picture here.
And, oh yes, there, won't you hold that? And also, we noticed that you kind of have an affinity for Diet Dr. Pepper. So we made sure you have a good supply as you go out the door. And then also this gift bag full of different Lacey swag and a certificate to one of the Lacey restaurants.
Ever get the shirt I was promised?
That's on order. And also, want to thank Dahlia and for giving it to us for this time and supporting him in that effort and serving the community. I know he does a lot out in the public, but there's a lot of toll on the families and in this community service, and you can't do it without that support. So I want to thank you especially for putting up with us and his service to the community.
I was joking last week about getting emotional, but this is I don't know, a little different. I'll do something I don't normally do and try to keep this brief. I honestly don't feel like I have been here long enough to deserve any of this, but I'm definitely grateful and appreciative of the time that I've had here, and thankfully I got to say a little bit of goodbyes last week. But I will say something for those who weren't here last week. one thing I've always wanted to do is say, Troy, woo woo. An inside joke, but I've never been able to do that publicly, and always wanted to. I greatly appreciate the time, and I'm a numbers guy, and so I can't imagine what the city looks like without Troy over the last 15, 20 years, and what it's going to look like in the future. Vanessa and Ryan, I don't think Ryan is here, but I loved working with you guys, and I see great things with you in the future. Vince, Public Works is like the least I knew about and the most impactful thing to our entire city, and just how open you guys all were. It was really, really grateful. And I have so many relationships with people at in our police office, and I still see them on a daily basis. And they're a lot of the reasons talking to them is why I ran in the first place. And then Jen, I mean, people know our city because of what you do. That is who we are. We are Parks, and that's what I remember. Sheriff made a joke one time when I was at an event. He's like, "Oh, what's Lacey build another park?" I'm like, well, probably. That's that's our thing. I spoke to a lot of you. Lenny, you weren't here last week, but your voice on this council is often different than everybody else's, but it is so valuable to this council because you help bring balance to it. And I can't imagine how difficult that has been for you in so many instances. And Andy, you are the definition of Lacey, you and your family. And who knows what we would be without the leadership you provided. And, I know whether it be, in a couple years or 4 years or how many times you convince your wife to allow you to run again. But, you've made a huge impact, and you deserve to take your pack off sometime soon and enjoy your life. And lastly, Rick, I had got to meet with Rick earlier, and we, have a lot of discussions. But the one thing that I can be, I can go home feeling comfortable with is that as long as Rick is here, Lacey's going to be okay. We're going to have different council members. We're going to have people come in and out. But as long as Rick is here, with the assistance of Nicole, who is the backbone of our city, and just helps make everything run. Nicole, really, I don't know if I'd still be here if it wasn't for you. You just always have such a positive attitude, and I know you, to everybody, I know you make a huge impact. I really try in my job and with my employees to challenge them to be better people. And that doesn't mean be like me. That means be the best version of themselves. And that can be really difficult, especially for this one, Nikaya, and probably my wife sometimes too, because the people I surround myself with, and I don't know if you attended my wedding, but it's I always challenge people to be the best version of themselves, and that can be really difficult at times. And I know I can be really difficult at times, but I want to see greatness in everybody, in all that they do. And I try to see more in somebody than they see in themselves. And so that's where I've always carried myself with, but I know that can be difficult at times too. And this isn't the end. This is just the beginning, and I am leaving this position to hopefully even have a bigger impact on the city of Lacey. I never thought this is where I would settle or I'd make my home, my family, but it is, and it was meant to be that way, and I plan on continuing that for as long as I possibly can. So thank you, everyone here, for the impact you've made on me. One more thing, because I'm never actually going to be able to say this. Keep it classy, Lacey.
Yeah. Pictures in front. You want let's do it.
We'll do one and then we'll bring it.
Yeah, just let them do one.
That is what we call in our household dark water.
Thank you, buddy. I know you gotta go. Isn't that cool?
You too.
Thank you, Talia. Thank you. Thank you
Bye
for
now.
all you. Thank you so much. And with that, Nick actually has to leave to get off to another planned event. So our next agenda item is public comment. We did have one person sign up for public comment. Former Mayor John Halverson, please come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Halverson. I live in 5016 Sheridan Drive, Southeast in Lacey. I know you like to know if they are residents or not. I'm here to talk about a community celebration that we're organizing with I'm representing the Lacey Historical Society. And on the 8th of September, we have a great event called the Community Celebration of America 250 and Lacey 60. And it's going to be at the Lacey Community Center from 3 p.m. in the afternoon till 7 p.m. We have 19 partner organizations that are going to do exhibits and answer questions, talk about their history in this area, and should be fun for lots of folks. One of the groups is going to be Olympian Genealogical Society, which will help people get into their history of the founding families of Lacey. We're hoping to encourage that to happen and that more people will join us in our work. So again, that's on September 8th. I've got flyers for everybody. I'll pass those around. I see my time is moving real quick. So there. I think there's one for everybody all the way around.
Great.
And on the back is the schedule. I hope you'll join us. I hope the public will come. You'll see a lot more in various media, Facebook, websites, and so on. I have one other thing. I'm also a member of the American Legion Post 94 in Lacey, and I hope some of you will come and help support the recognition of first responders, which include many people from the city of Lacey. So mostly people of the city of Lacey. And I put this in your box so you'll have it somewhere, and hope you'll come to that. That's 2 nights after our event. So I'm pretty excited about the event celebrating the city. The city was 6 years old when I came here. And if you add up quickly, I wasn't 6 years old. It was a wonderful pleasure to serve 9 years on this council and a few years as mayor. Not as many as Andy, but so carry on, doing a great job, everyone.
Thanks,
See you
John.
on the 8th.
Thanks, John. Thank you for all of your years of giving back to this community, and you continue to give back to this community, which is absolutely amazing. John was a huge influence in my life, and I just want to thank you again for everything you've done for our community. Okay, does anyone else wishing to address this council this evening? Seeing none, we did receive 2 written public comments that are a part of the record. So our next agenda items, I have several appointments that are going to happen, and if without objection from this council, I'll do the first 2 together since they're both for the Historic Commission. I would move that we reappoint Kevin Wyckoff to another his second term on the Historic Commission, and that we approve the appointments of TJ Teneri and John Jajic to the Historic Commission as well. So I'd move that we reappoint Kevin to a second term and appoint TJ and John to their first term.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Thank you all for stepping up to serve.
Yeah. Okay, with that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? That motion unanimously passes, and we have now reappointed Kevin and appointed TJ and John to their first term on the Historic Commission. Our next is an appointment to Angela Christensen to the library board for her first term, and I would move that we do appoint Angela to the library board.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then that passes as well. Thank you, Angela. And then the last of the appointments is for Barbara Mock to be on our Parks, Culture, and Recreation Board. And I'd make that motion that we appoint Barbara to the Parks, Culture, and Recreation Board.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries. Now, we do have John here and Angela and Barbara. If you guys want to come up and just introduce yourselves real quick to the council. I'm not putting you on the spot.
No pressure.
No pressure. We all know you, John. Come on all the way up.
Good evening. My name is John. My last name is not pronounceable. I've been here since 1960 and actually have served on the Lacey Planning Commission a long time ago, which makes me qualified for the Historical Commission. And I appreciate your support.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Angela, you want to come up and just introduce yourself real quick? Hi.
My name's Angela Christensen. I came to Lacey first when I started at St. Martin's back in 2007. Graduated there and did part of my graduate school as well, and then came back when it was time to start a family and bought a home here about 5 years ago. I'm excited to be on the library board and actually spent about 2 hours there last night with my son. So it's really just kind of learning a little bit more about what they've got there. So
Great.
excited.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
You.
And then Barbara?
I'm very chatty, so I might say a little bit more. My name's Barbara Mock, and I'm new to the community. I spent my entire career, 44 years, with local government at Snohomish County Planning and Development Services. I started in the 70s as a receptionist, and I ended as the planning director. And so Rick and Vanessa and I know each other from planning directors conferences. I moved here because my grandchildren moved here. They relocated about 3 years ago, and we realized we were missing out. So we moved in 2023. I live at Ovation at Oak Tree, an active 55-plus community. And we're just learning about our community. So I've spent a lot of time at parks, baseball games, volleyball games, soccer games, and so forth, as a grandparent in the stands. And you have an amazing, amazing legacy. There's no place like the RAC that I've ever attended in this state. I've been looking for a place to serve, but having a unique skill set of things like comprehensive plans and writing staff reports and everything, I thought, gosh, where could that be? And then I got involved in the advocacy for the Karen Fraser Woodland Trail Extension, and I started diving deep into your plans and your comp plan, and I saw this position opening up. The reason I want that trail extended, along with all the parks you've got, is I live in a part that's underserved in the unincorporated urban growth area. McAllister Park is a great future park, but I don't have a way to get from my house to your trail system, which is amazing. So I'm a member of the Bicycle Club. We had 50 members show up this last Wednesday, and 16 of us rode around our neighborhood because that's where we feel safe. So I'm really excited to help you, support you, be whatever you need me to be to get the connections made in this community to all the wonderful parks. So I'm really grateful, and I'm excited to be on the board.
Thank you so much. Pretty amazing, huh?
You're great.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for stepping up and continuing to serve your community. We really look forward to your help. Okay, our next agenda item is our public art donation policy briefing.
Good evening, council members, mayor, deputy mayor. It's good to be back again here with you tonight. My name is Chanel Pierce. I'm the city's special projects administrator. Tonight, I'm revisiting the public art donation policy I first shared on April 28th. I'm here providing more information for discussion only. Action will be at a later date. On April 28th, during the work session, I noted that the current policy doesn't specify what the city should do to handle private art donations. Recently, some community organizations had expressed interest in donating objects such as statues and monuments, revealing a gap and promoting the creation of this new subsection. During the April 28th work session, the council asked staff to provide additional information on maintenance responsibilities and approval thresholds, so that's why I'm here tonight. On the screen for your consideration are options for maintenance responsibilities. Option 1 is for the prospective donor to maintain the object themselves. Another option is for the donor to make a one-time monetary contribution to an endowment. Outdoor objects, for example, are exposed to all sorts of environmental wear, like UV fading, bird droppings, cracking from temperature fluctuations, and sometimes vandalism. Some cities want to make sure that a generous gift from a donor doesn't turn into a financial burden for taxpayers, so they set up a one-time maintenance endowment funded by the donor. I can share information on maintenance endowments from other donation policies and other municipal governments if you wish to review them. Returning back to this slide, option 3 is to remove all donor maintenance responsibilities and have the city maintain all objects regardless of their size, complexity, or location. The policy could have one of these options or a combination of options. For example, the policy could state that the city maintains donated objects, but for objects that require special care, such as those that are interactive, have moving parts, or fragile, a one-time endowment may be required. That, for example, would be a combination of options 2 and 3. Another example would be for the city to maintain all objects unless the donor wishes to maintain the objects themselves. That would be a combination of options 1 and 3. The current draft policy combines options 1 and 2, requiring the donor to enter into either a maintenance agreement or an endowment. And I'm going to pause here for discussion.
So I've had this conversation, actually had this conversation with Jean, because it's the talk of the Historic Society donating a statue, but in this case going into agreed upon going into our Lacey Community Center, but we realized we didn't have a policy around this. In this case, it's a pretty straightforward because the statue is going to be inside a building that doesn't have really any maintenance at all. So to expect to have the donor at that point have to contribute anything doesn't make a lot of sense. So a simple agreement makes just a lot of sense. It's accepting it, and in this case, having Lacey basically maintain it since it's inside one of its facilities. I guess it could be a little bit different if it was someone wishing to donate a piece of art that didn't have a direct connection to the city of Lacey and was more of like, I have this piece of art that I think would be great in your community, and there's a want from that individual donor to have it displayed within the community. That is the only time where I'd see some sort of agreement, endowment situation would make sense. Otherwise, I think the decision-making needs to happen at the time of the proposal of the art donation. Either that art donation is enhancing, helping preserve, Lacey historic history or some sort of meaning that it's a benefit to our entire community to accept it, then it should be the benefit. To that benefit, we should maintain it, right? I mean, if it's, Kite Girl, right? If someone donated Kite Girl, well, that is contributing a lot to our community, and at that point, the community should agree to maintain Kite Girl. It gets a little bit different, say, if you get into a big mural situation, where I would love to see a mural program happen, And that would be a little bit different because you're trying to get artists together, and then there has to be some sort of agreement for that mural to be maintained. And that would usually be done by a group of volunteer artists, where you've seen that happen in the city of Olympia. Again, that is a case-by-case basis. So for me, I keep coming back to, it depends on what the art is, what the purpose is for. If it is solely from someone feeling good and wanting to contribute something, but there's not a direct benefit besides the beautiful art piece, then okay, we could have some discussion of what should be ongoing maintenance costs and who should be responsible at that time. But I wouldn't want someone to say, hey, I want to donate this beautiful hawk, but if I'm gonna have to go through the whole process of donating the hawk and then I'm responsible for maintaining it in perpetuity, then why would that doesn't make any sense to me. So again, I think it should be a case-by-case basis, and I would love to have a committee that would sort of, vet some of these and bring forward a recommendation to the council. We're not quite there yet, but I'm hoping that's going to be something in the near future that I've talked to the city manager about this on numerous occasions of how do we expand that and get more public art in our community, because, I'm a strong believer, as this council knows, if you have a budget line item, then you should be using that budget line item for the benefit of the community. It just a budget line item that just sits in your budget and nothing happens to it is to me it's heartbreaking. So that's where I'm at. I think it should be a case-by-case basis. I would love to have some committee sort of make a recommendation to the council on accepting it and what makes sense at the time. But I think it should be a combination of the city maintains it unless there's a specific circumstance where you can't show a overall community good where it doesn't make sense. Councilmember?
I almost completely agree with you on that. The only exception I would think would be in something where it requires some kind of expertise to care for it, right? Like, for instance, a mural, like you said, right? I can't go out and fix the mural because, I can't paint a straight line, right? You need an artist to do that. But other than that, I think if we're going to accept the donation, we kind of accept the responsibility of caring for it. And if it's something that we don't feel we can care for, we probably shouldn't accept that donation. Or maybe in that case, the person or the group donating it might be willing to put up an endowment for maintaining it. But, I do think it almost has to be a case-by-case scenario, situation, so.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree. I would hate to see a policy that would discourage people from donating, like they're already being generous and now you want me to pay more? It just feels like
Doesn't seem right, does it?
an insult. Yeah. So.
No, a murals is different, and I'd love to have a longer discussion about murals and setting up, and having more of those in our community. That would require ongoing, and there would probably be, they would need to show if somehow the city supported it and helped it, that there is some sort of committee that maintained it. But other than that, I can't see. Yeah. Anyone else?
I'm in agreement too. I think you have to look at a case-by-case basis, but then I also would like to see some consistency in how we do that. I'm in full agreement that we should develop maybe an arts commission or some sort of committee like that. That would be fabulous.
Yeah, Ryan, what do you think?
Nothing that hasn't already been said.
Okay, well.
And it could be an ad hoc committee. We don't, it's not like we have someone trying to donate art to the city on a weekly basis, right, or a monthly basis. We could form a committee as needed, it could be an as-needed type thing.
That's what we've talked about in the council conversation in the past, is looking at an ad hoc committee when things come up. Because one of the things is, do we want to accept a donation of art? Also, where is it going to be displayed? I think you mentioned the current idea with the statue. There hasn't been any decisions yet, but that's one of the locations is, looking at some city properties where it could be displayed, but that's something that'd be a future ad hoc committee discussion. And then I think it's also important to every donation, maybe not the same, because there are, something that may be very simple to maintain. It may be something that's, the totem we have out in front, the gift from the Nisqually tribe is one thing, but maybe like the Cool Clock is another, Cool Clock on Slater Kinney is a different thing because that is something that takes special maintenance pieces. And so there are some just different case-by-case measures. So we can look at setting up a final policy that displays that. And one of the things we got to be looking at too is as we look at the 7th and College intersection, that could be our first test of the policy and also the ad hoc committee format.
When we first got this, the amount that was suggested was like 10% of the value of the piece, which obviously after 10 years they've paid for it again, and then after 20 they've paid for it twice. I thought that was kind of silly. An endowment doesn't sound too bad. I know that we have art dollars that we don't use. Right, we have yet to find a way to expend these dollars. They just kind of sit there, hopefully gaining interest. That would be nice. But if we accept a piece of art, or if we're looking at accepting a piece of art, it should be on us to say whether we can afford to maintain it or not. If we look at something and say we can't or don't want to afford to maintain that, then we should reject it, because once we accept it, it's on city property or it's on some personal space, but it becomes the property of the city of Lacey, and I wouldn't expect somebody else to come and pay and maintain. An endowment would be nice. I could see, but I don't. That could prevent somebody from even wanting to donate. If I want to donate something and I have to give you $5,000 at the same time, maybe I don't want to donate that then after that. So
I agree. I do think there should be an agreement that spells all that out when we accept it. That this, because what we don't want is like in the case of the Clue Clock, right, where it's sitting there and needs some repairs, and everyone's like going, okay, how do we do this? And then it'd be nice to be able to go back and look at, well, here's what the agreement says. And so in a case like that, there could be an agreement that says, on any future repairs, it's a 50-50 responsibility between, we could figure that out, but leave that up to the ad hoc committee and to accept it or reject it at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
We have some pieces of art now, I know, like for instance, the military statue that we have, that the Rotary Club that donated it also maintains it.
Yeah.
So I mean, voluntarily, right? They go and do that. So I mean, I think there's
Sure.
a lot of different options on how to do this, but I think it's got to be a case by case.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question. I'm wondering if an arts commission can operate like an ad hoc committee, because there may be some other things that commission can do other than accept or screen artwork.
I would love to have the conversation about an arts commission and what that would take. I think that in some cases is another conversation that we need to have separate from this. But maybe go on. You have some more
I
information?
do. Yeah,
okay.
I do have a proposal for you to consider that I think meets everything I'm hearing. And so that proposal is to strike Section 6 entirely from the proposed draft policy, which is maintenance responsibilities. And then in the section above it, just above it in Section 5, add the yellow highlighted sentence. So in Section 5BE, it would read maintenance. Because the city must be able to provide proper storage and care, no objects requiring extensive or extraordinary preservation or care will be accepted. Furthermore, at its discretion, the city may request the donor to establish an endowment or a maintenance agreement for objects requiring substantial maintenance. And then as the policies already currently proposed and written, in Section 4E, there is a donation agreement, and it does say maintenance responsibility. So that's where it would outline whatever gets agreed upon. The city's gonna maintain it. That's what the donation agreement says, or whatever is agreed upon for it.
I'm not quite there, because there may be an object that requires extensive preservation and care that we do want to accept if it was based on a overall benefit of the community. Yeah, as discretion, yeah.
Because it's discretionary, right? If it's too expensive, if we don't want to maintain it or can't afford to maintain it, we don't have to accept it, but we have the discretion to be able to.
But the sentence above that says, because city must be able to provide proper storage and care, no objects requiring extensive or extraordinary preservation and care will be accepted,
You
period.
could change it to discretion if you want it,
Okay,
discretion as well,
yeah.
no problem.
I think that needs to be that, yeah. I think you should just get rid of that. At its discretion, the city may request that the donor just get rid of, yeah, for maintenance, just start with your highlighted. At its discretion, the city may request that the donor establish an endowment or a maintenance agreement for the object required.
We'll come up with some language that says on a case-by-case
Basis.
we'll have a discussion about the maintenance responsibilities so that the city is informed of what that responsibility is and if the city can do it. And we can add some language that will.
I had a question for Troy in regards to the budget that we have for art, and it is a percentage of something. It's
a dollar per population.
Dollar per
capita.
so
Per capita.
$60,000 per year. So then my thought became, is if we don't exceed a percentage of that amount, and I'm even thinking as low as like, 2% or something along those lines, because if we take our per capita, our 60,297 people, I think it is, somewhere in that ballpark, and we say that, the value or the maintenance on this item cannot exceed a percentage of that number or
I think,
something.
again, that's a
I don't
big
know.
case-by-case
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know
We
what
can,
you're
we can
coming
do
from.
something about it, and if we have to look at some maintenance, we'll come up with a financial strategy. Part of that per capita art fund was to actually use to be able to fund art projects, and that's something that would be used, for example, if we do another thing like the Hawks in Hawks Prairie or the military statue, if that was something the city initiated. So we can use that fund for that initial, but we also would have to have a financial strategy, and so future conversations could be looking at that or other sources to be able to fund the ongoing maintenance.
I mean, and then the proposed approvals for thresholds, I would like to think that any significant piece of art that's going to come into our community, that this council would at least have a conversation about. There may be something that's right under, that's, cost less than $7,500 that you could, approve, but you would think at that point, there should at least be a conversation the council's having about, an art piece or something major coming to the city of Lacey. So that's just my opinion, but.
It's not always easy to value.
Yeah, it's not an easy value.
Do we
Yeah.
hire an appraiser?
What's up?
Do we hire an appraiser?
No, like, yeah, how do you figure out what the value is of some of this stuff too? So that's where, it'd be nice if there was a process that any piece of art it goes through a ad hoc committee that gets a recommendation to the full council, so all this stuff can be talked about.
So it is written in the policy as proposed that the city manager can do it, but you can also take it to the council. It's written that way for something, if it's, because it all depends on what it is.
Sure.
So if it has a high value, it wouldn't supersede Rick taking it to the council just because it's under $7,500.
And something too, it's very similar to like the agreements, the interlocal agreements that are major and minor in nature, where you'd have a report out, but there'd be a decision, so not everything's coming to council, and because everything, again, you can have some things that are very routine in nature, but you also have the staff time, the ad hoc committee, and then the recommendation, that process, and so it's just trying to make some more efficiencies in how we administer it, but it's very similar to the current policy related to the council and the city manager on agreements.
Would you like to take a quick look at this thresholds at other cities, what they do?
No, I mean, you're right. I think if it's routine in nature, that's one thing. But I think if it's a piece of art that's going to go out into our community, it should go through a process regardless. I mean, because it could be something where, I don't know, it could be a bunch of pigs and people don't like pigs. I don't know what, I don't know. I think this doesn't happen very often anyway, and so it's not like we're dealing with this on a regular basis.
Right. So as it's written now, there's an initial review by the city manager's office to receive it and see if the application is complete and all of that. And then it's going to go for internal preliminary technical reviews to get input and things like that. And then that's where it becomes, if it's 75 above or below, if it can be approved at that point or come here to council.
I think at that point, it should hopefully go to an ad hoc committee for a recommendation or not. And that's when all those things can be discussed of ongoing maintenance, all those things.
So we do say that it'll go to an art committee, and if no art committee is in place, which is our case, it'll be an advisory board designated by the city manager's office to review it and give recommendations. So there will be, that will happen.
Yeah. with hopefully a council member being a part of that committee. Yeah. Or, yes, no?
Well, reviewing donations, I think.
That's
Yeah.
to make a recommendation
To
before
make
it
reg-
comes
okay.
here.
Okay.
So it
Before
come to full
comes here.
council.
So it's
Okay.
got
Okay.
internal technical reviews, and it's got external board
So
reviews.
instead of
and
forming an ad hoc
recommendations.
committee each time, we'd use like the Commission on Equity or an appropriate advisory board to review it and then make that recommendation.
Like the library board. Like the library board, yeah. Okay, I think you.
Commission.
Yeah, or store commission, or the store commission, right? Depending on what it is, yeah. Okay, I think you got what you're waiting for?
So you're
Okay.
good with the 7,500, it sounds like, or do you
Yeah.
have other comments?
The council is,
I mean, council vote on this.
yeah, you'll have a final language come before you for future action.
Sure, I'm just getting a
Yeah.
sense of
Yep.
if there's consensus there for
I
how
think
to
so.
proceed.
I mean, one other consideration, and maybe if there's an ad hoc art committee, is like setting some standards for what we'll accept, and also to maybe test the boundaries a little bit. And perhaps there's something rather avant-garde that is meant to challenge or inspire or that sort of thing.
Well,
And
see,
is
that's-
it going to play in Lacey? So
See, that's why I think it's important that it goes through an ad hoc committee, because it could be under $7,500, but it could also then be very controversial. I mean, and so for that to not have gone through a process doesn't seem appropriate. I don't know.
So it does say the city manager may seek recommendations and input from an advisory board before making that decision and may bring it to the city council for final
Okay.
approval. So that's kind of the out if it's, you've got to use good judgment. I trust
Yeah.
Rick has it. If he doesn't, I'll make sure he does on the art donated piece.
I have
But
lots of help
It leaves the
all
longer
around.
process always possible regardless of dollar amount of value.
Yeah. And I don't want things being turned away too, and so, oh, that might be controversial. I don't want to be in a circumstance like that. I like to go through a process before, yeah. Okay, I think do you have
I
enough?
think so, make sure.
Yeah,
everybody gets it.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I just want to recap real quick. So I'm hearing that first piece, you're good with striking section 6, anything about maintenance agreement, maintenance responsibilities, and then adding some language in section 5. You gave some comments there about how long you wanted that, what you wanted, and then good with keeping the decision regarding approval thresholds at 7,500 with the language that's in there.
I think, yeah, it's not for so much a dollar amount in my case. It's more of like, there should be more than just a dollar amount process for approval, and so I'm still not sure about that.
Suggestion.
Yeah,
So I think we could fix that part with one word, really. So right now, it's the city manager may bring it to a commission. How about it will bring
Yeah.
it to a commission, resolves that, I think, and
Yeah.
gets it in front of more people looking at it, whichever body that is,
sure.
whichever,
I'm happy
commission
with that.
is.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
okay. Not that we don't trust you, Rick.
Well, but again, when you're making plans or policy, it's not for necessarily who the current city manager
Yeah,
is.
no.
It's for the future of the
It's a
city,
good-
and I don't know who the city manager is gonna be 5 years from now, 10 years
Yeah.
from now, right? And we don't know.
Yeah, you could drop.
Hopefully, it'll still be Rick, but you know.
He could drop dead in like any second, so he does not. Okay, let's go. First meeting back for a while, yeah, let's hear. Okay, next up is our flag policy update. Shannon.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. I'm here tonight to talk about a potential update to our city flag policy. I know many of you are very familiar with this section of the City Council policy and procedures. Tonight, it's for review only and discussion, and we'll take this information and come back at a future potential regular meeting for any potential council action. So what we're looking at tonight is the City Council Policies and Procedures, Section 5.11. This was last updated in 2022. The updates, one of the reasons why we're looking at this is we have added new flagpoles since this was created. And then this also came up in conversation at a former informational dinner meeting where there was some discussion on flying and displaying other flags. And so it did also come to our attention that we have agreements that are not contemplated currently in the flag policy. So taking a look at this would also incorporate the existing agreements and then also consider potential future displays Any change to this section of the council policies and procedures would need to be done by resolution, which would potentially occur at a later date. So just really quickly on the new flagpoles, I'm sure as many of you drove into City Hall, you'll see the new police station. We do have some new flagpoles located there, and I got a picture of it right here. We also have a flagpole at Rainier Vista Park that was not contemplated in the policy, so we wanted to make sure to incorporate that both that new flagpoles at the police station and then the flagpole at Rainier Vista were included.
Shannon, a quick question. At Rainier Vista, is it the 3 poles?
It is a single pole.
It's a single pole.
The other thing, like I mentioned, was we do have other types of flagpoles that were not included, and that is city-owned poles with flag brackets. And I'm sure you all are very familiar if you've driven down College Street. Just as an example, this is a picture that I'm showing here from College Street. And so what the amendments would do would formalize the existing agreement that we have with the Sunrise Lions. And I've included that agreement as part of your packet as attachment 2. And one thing I just want to note is that is an evergreen agreement. There is no deadline for that agreement to expire. What there is a requirement for is the Sunrise Lions to communicate 60 days in advance of flying those flags, of where they plan on flying those flags, so that our maintenance team can ensure that those are the correct locations. If there's any issues with brackets, et cetera, that we can take a look at that. And so that would be formalizing the possibility of having this type of an agreement. It would also be amending language to allow for the display of other city council approved flags. And over here on the side, you can see that the city council approved flags currently include the United States flag, our sister city flag, the Progress Pride flag, the Juneteenth flag, the Nisqually Indian Tribe flag, and the Squaxin Island Tribe flag. And then also would allow other third parties to enter into agreements with the city to display only council-approved flags on those city-owned flagpoles with brackets. Those are the updates that are contemplated as part of the proposal, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
So is the Washington state flag not an approved flag?
That is absolutely an approved flag, but it's part of the earlier part of the process. If you take a look at the displays to the flag, it does say U.S. flag, POW flag, Washington state flag, City of Lacey flag.
Okay.
So these are really in addition to. The reason I highlighted the United States flag was specifically because of the existing agreement with the Sunrise Lions. So you would be correct that those are approved to be flown in other locations, including our new police station.
Great. Lenny.
So I have a question and a concern. So my question is, so I know the policy on where we have the 3 flagpoles. What is the current policy then like for Rainier Vista where there's only a single pole?
Yeah, so on Rainier Vista, it would be the U.S. flag and then the City of Lacey flag. And the City of Lacey flag could be replaced with a different flag based on what was approved by the city council. So under the council approved flags, there are specific flags that could fly at different times. I'll use the example of the Juneteenth flag. That can be flown annually from June 19th to the 3rd weekend of June or the 3rd weekend of June to June 19th, depending on which comes first when the holiday falls. And so on that single flagpole, you would have on top the U.S. flag and then below it the Juneteenth flag for that period of time.
Because I thought our policy on all of those flags that we approved, other than the U.S. flag, obviously, was only where there were 3 poles. That's how I thought the policy read previously that we had agreed on. Because where there's 3 poles, like here at City Hall, we fly the U.S. flag, obviously. We fly the state flag, and then on the 3rd pole is where we fly the other flags. Whether in replacement of the city flag, we fly the Pride flag or the Juneteenth flag, but I've not seen anywhere where we've flown it on the same pole with the U.S. flag, where there was a single pole. I thought that policy was only for 3 poles.
So we have flown what we're talking about of the U.S. flag and then the city council approved flags. And I think the council, it could choose to fly, whatever city council approved flag that it's looking for. And I'm looking for the particular language that you're speaking to of.
I don't have a huge issue with that. I mean, where my bigger concern is really on the city flag, not the flag poles, but the light poles, where we currently have the agreement with the Lions Club, who put up the American flags for, the period of I forget the exact dates, but I know it's there for Flag Day, it's there for Memorial Day, Labor Day, for that stretch of holidays, the 4th of July. My concern is switching out the American flag for any other flag through that period of time. I have a serious problem with, serious concern.
Well, that's their poll, right? We're just.
Well, no, there
that's
are
their-
polls.
it's
They're
their-
hanging-
But their brackets, isn't it their brackets?
So
I believe there are brackets, and they're using our brackets to put their flags, because what this policy is talking about is allowing other organizations or other flags, the other approved flags, to fly on those same brackets. Am I missing something there? That's what we're talking about, correct?
Correct. So yeah, just for clarification, the poles and the brackets are city infrastructure. In the case with the U.S. flags, the Sunrise Lions, they do own those flags that are being flown.
Right.
Councilmember, I think your question is a good one, and certainly the intent would not be to, replace where the Sunrise Lions are currently flying their flags. And that's why with the existing agreement that we have right now, the Sunrise Lions have the opportunity, 60 days before they fly their flags, which are from Memorial to Labor Day, to let us know what, flagpoles that they're being used. So that would be, the intent would be to keep with the existing agreement, but in other locations, there could be the opportunity for additional flags.
I guess where I'm still missing something is my understanding, because I've helped them put those flags up in years past, they fly them all over the city. I mean, I don't know that we have areas that they're not flying those during the holidays. So that's where my concern comes, because it just so happens that the timing of the other flags is during the time they fly those flags, right? Because Pride Month is June, Juneteenth is in June. That is during the period that they fly the American flags. So that's my concern. I would have a serious concern with us taking down the American flag to fly another flag.
But it sounds like what we're saying here is that the Lions get first right. And if there's anything left over there where the Lions aren't doing that,
No problem with that.
okay.
But
All right, 'cause they do-
is
they get
that the
first
case,
dibs.
though? I mean, because if we would be going into an agreement with anybody else flying these flags, is the existing agreement with the Lions Club going to take precedent over those other agreements? So they would have first right of refusal. That's not in their agreement at this point.
But we would be adding that, right?
That is certainly something we could go back to the Lions Club and take a look at the agreement that we have, so that we can make firmer language to that point if the council would like
Yeah.
us to do that before coming back with this policy.
Great.
Within
Thank you.
60 days, I think that it's been tradition enough in this community that 60 days, they have the first right of refusal to put flags wherever they want during that. Formalize that, and I think we're going to be.
Right, we would need to formalize that in the policy.
Yeah.
It would be critical to me.
That's fine. I'm okay with that.
If I can follow up with the question you had about the protocols for the three, where we have 3 flagpoles versus 1. The way the policy reads is the Lacey Council may choose to fly a different flag in place of the city flag. It didn't say 1 pole or 3 poles. And so in Shannon, the example Shannon provided at Rainier Vista, you have the U.S. flag and then the city flag underneath it. That's where we can switch that out for a council-approved flag to be flown. And in our policies, there's, of course, a description of all the different locations, which we want to add the additional location to this amendment, and identify the flagpoles and the order of flight. So
I would think it would make sense to leave it a little more open-ended in the sense of not necessarily naming the locations of the flagpoles, but city flagpoles, right? So that every time we add a new flagpole, we don't have to amend the policy like we're doing now for the police station or Rainier Vista. I mean, I would think it'd just be easier to make it for any city-owned flagpoles.
Yeah. Can we make that change too? Because you're right. It doesn't make sense
So we're
coming
not
back.
addressing
A new
it, come
flagpole
back to
comes up
this
with.
every time we
yeah,
add a new
yeah,
flagpole.
Yeah. We can add that, right? And any
we can look
future
at
city?
some language that
We
evergreen.
can certainly take a look
Yep.
at updating that table. It would just require us kind of fleshing out, again, with 3 flags versus 1 flag, and that could simply be done.
And any future city flagpole.
Correct.
Just adding that language so we don't have to come back and approve a new flagpole, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Do we have, I guess, going back to Lenny's point of that the Sunrise Lions has like first right of refusal on all of our brackets for flags in the city. Do we have a list, or are we keeping track of which ones they're not using? Because if they just monopolize the whole thing, then there's the flag policy doesn't actually apply and doesn't really let other people fly their flag if they're just going to be the ones that have that right.
think
all
maybe
the time.
Just a distinction of what I heard was, taking a look at the existing flag pole brackets that the Lions do use currently and contemplating that with the future agreement update. That wouldn't mean that there couldn't be opportunities or that all flag brackets are used currently across the city to add additional, opportunities for other types of city council approved flags.
Okay, when I was hearing first right of refusal, it sounded like that they're like, we're going to use all the brackets and therefore we're not going, and then preventing the hanging of other flags during that time. And so if we can, then that would be my worry about that is.
I do think they do have a lot of places, but they've been it is a sort of a Lacey tradition for a long time. There are other places, I guarantee you, that we could do this, that outside of we need to, here's what we currently have, they can then, Sunrise Lions, basically say, okay, we want to use this many, we need to take an inventory and know what that inventory is. And then, so in the future, we could add to more flag, to other polls or whatever.
Yeah. Thank you, It's like, if we don't have an inventory, it's hard to know.
It's hard
where
to
they're
know that.
going.
Do we have an inventory?
We do have an inventory of a lot of our infrastructure, and again, the way that the Sunrise Lions have operated is they provide kind of like what streets they're going to be looking to fly the flags, and we are able to respond whether or not we have equipment on those streets. But also it's based on some of the resources and bandwidth that they have as well. And so over the years, that has looked different, depending on the volunteer levels that they have. And so that's certainly something that, when we take a look at the language, we'd want to, make sure that we contemplate as part of that.
Okay.
In some of the years, I can tell you that AUSA and soldiers from JBLM have helped put up the flags because Sunrise Lions Club is, they're generally have gotten a little older over the years, the group that's there, and some of them are just not quite as able to put up the flags. So they've struggled with the volunteers to be able to actually put them up and take them back down. So AUSA and soldiers from JBLM have helped several of those years.
Okay, I think you got what we're looking for, right?
I've got some great direction, and we'll do some follow-up and diligence before we bring anything back to council.
Perfect. Our next agenda item is the economic development update. Sarah.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. I'm Sarah Schelling I'm the current Planning and Economic Development Manager with the Community and Economic Development Department. And tonight I'm here to give an economic development update that includes both a touch on the economic development and our initiatives that we're working on right now, as well as a brief private development update as well. So we're going to start first with our economic development side of current planning and economic development. And we're going to talk first about the night market and the food truck depot. I know the night market has come up before this group recently. So let's talk about the market in 2026 and what a great success it's been. We're in our third contract year with Sway Night Market, and each year that Sway has been our operator, he's grown interest and attendance in the market, and the vibrancy of it has just increased over the last 3 years. This year, the night market has averaged 78 vendors per event and is averaging 7,734 visitors per night. That's a 27% increase over last year. Each market night is themed. There was recently a K-pop night and an island night, both huge events. Upcoming, we have a country night, a Latin night, and then it finishes up with a fall fest as well as a holiday market in November at the community center. We have participation with vendors throughout the community, both private businesses and government. The Commission on Equity was able to table at a couple of events this year. Our stormwater section has also talked about putting tables at the event to provide stormwater education as well to members of the community. So it's been an enormous success for the city and small business owners who participate. Of course, the success has had some unintended consequences, which is what you'd heard about just a few weeks ago. So we'll go ahead and talk about, We'll talk about parking. So in 2026, we've been fortunate this market season that St. Martin's has agreed to partner with us, partner with the city in this event and to allow parking at one of their lots adjacent to Pacific Avenue. So this parking lot is less than a half mile down the road. There's a safe, controlled crossing with ample parking for anybody who wishes to park there. This is parking lots in addition to any available on-street parking as well as on-site parking. This is a new partnership again this year, and it actually didn't come into effect until probably 4 night markets. So it's new, and it's going to take some time for people to learn that it's available as an option. Helping to educate people as to whether or not it's an option has been one of our focuses in economic development and communications the past few market events through probably June, where we've been advertising the availability of parking at St. Martin's University. In addition to advertising the availability of parking, we've also included requests in our social media posts to ask people not to park on in private lots. We've provided directional signage both at the market itself as well as at the parking lot and on sidewalks adjacent to private lots where we've had parking issues, directing people to St. Martin's University as well. We've also provided information regarding some of the other options that are available. Buses are free in Thurston County. People can ride the bus to the night market. The market's on a trail. There's great opportunity to ride your bike and as well as to walk. So we're continuing to promote other options, promote the availability of this parking lot at St. Martin's, and we're really grateful to St. Martin's for allowing the city to do that and provide that for this event. In addition to those options, the night market staff is actively directing patrons during night market events to additional parking lots. So we feel like there's ample parking available right now for the night market and all the events to take place. The hope is that with continued messaging from both the city's end as well as the market staff's end, that people will learn that they can park at St. Martin's and it will stop being an issue for adjacent property owners.
Yeah, do you know if Intercity Transit has a bus that stops very nearby that people might be able to?
I believe there's one directly on Lacey Boulevard right next to the market.
Yeah.
Yes. Our operator, Jason, too, has been in discussions with Intercity Transit about providing a shuttle service as well, a free shuttle service maybe sponsored by Toyota to move people to and from the night market as well. So we're continuing to look at other options to try and help relieve the pressure that the parking situation has caused.
Great. Thank you.
So next, I want to touch on some of our economic development work program items. You'll remember the economic development team was before you last spring with a 2-year work program that we intended to begin to implement based on the economic development strategic plan that was adopted also late last winter, early last spring. So the work program has tasks identified and assigned staff with the intent of beginning those initiatives in 2006. Shortly after we brought that program to you for review and adoption, we lost our one full-time economic development staff member to a new position at a different location. So we've had a staffing issue in our economic development section. So the loss of staff capacity has resulted in a delay of those new initiatives. And that's really in order to maintain capacity in the other areas where we need to have it, like management of the food truck depot and the night market itself. So that being said, we currently are working on some of the items a little bit more slowly in our work program. The street merchant ordinance, we're updating our street merchant ordinance to make it more reflective of the type of street merchants we see popping up or asking questions of us in the city. Shannon Vincent, our Special Projects Planner took that to the Planning Commission for its initial briefing last week, and that is going to begin moving forward. We're advancing that work, and that should be before council later this fall, probably early winter. What else? We are also advancing our food truck depot ADA improvement project that is right now in Public Works Engineering. They're working on final designs to hopefully get those ADA pathways in front of the food trucks to allow access. Hopefully that project will be constructed this fall. We also have a request for qualifications for a depot feasibility study ready to be issued, just waiting on a staff member to manage that contract. And Huntermer Park, that project continues as well with the search for funding. We were able to close out a conceptual design contract with a landscape architect last winter. We have some conceptual designs that will move forward once the project becomes funded. And then finally, our economic development vision. We did promise you that we would be back here to work on our vision statement last spring, and we're going to do that again later than we'd hoped. We have it on a work program or a work schedule council meeting for October 27th, I believe. See, and then, speaking of exciting news, we are hiring. We are actively hiring our economic development strategist. We're hoping to have that person on board by the October 27th meeting so that they can be introduced to you and they can be part of that discussion on the economic development vision statement. We had first interviews actually just yesterday, and so that hiring process is continuing and is moving forward. Let's see. So now we'll move on to the private development side of our economic development update. We'll first take a look at our land use permits. Our administrative review applications are trending similarly to 2025 numbers. Administrative land use review permits are those that don't require a public hearing and are really based on, are reviewed and approved at the staff level and the site plan review committee level to ensure they meet the underlying zoning and city and other development regulations. Our quasi-judicial projects in 2026 are actually trending higher. And these are projects that require a public hearing and a final decision by a hearings examiner. That would be things like major subdivisions, projects requiring critical area studies and permits or conditional use permits. Those have a longer permit review timeline and require some substantial staff review analysis. Each one of our three planners has at least one quasi-judicial project that came in over the last 3 months. Two of them have at least two in right now, some of them quite visible, and I'll touch just on those. They're new in the last few months, and I'll touch on those towards the end. Our commercial and industrial building permits are also up in 2026. Building permits as well as additions are up. Some of the bigger projects would be some of the new multifamily buildings, which are considered commercial in the building code. Multifamily buildings on Carpenter Road. And then one of our big TIs is the JNI permit at South Sound Center. We issued that recently, and they're actively moving forward on that construction. Housing permits in 2026, we're down a little bit from 2025. The multifamily permits just went crazy in 2025 with 602 new units coming on board. 237 at this point in the year is pretty good. We anticipate at least a few more multifamily projects getting their permits by the end of the year as well, so that number should increase. So those permits, those unit numbers are reflective of land use applications that received approval probably 2 years ago. So we had a huge number of multifamily projects that came in 2023 and 2024, and we're now seeing those constructed and come online.
So the two projects that are out by in Northeast Lacey off the first roundabout, are those? I also know there's a hotel going in there somewhere, and so are what's going up right now? Are they both multifamily, and the hotel hasn't gone up yet? But
talk about that. But
okay.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yeah. The multifamily. There's one multifamily that just got a certificate of occupancy, and then another one is coming. But I'm going to get to those in just a couple minutes here. Oops, I think I moved too far. Oops, nope. And then the single-family housing permits are also up a little bit as well from last year, and that's reflective of Morel Meadows, which is the mushroom farm that came online. Additional permits are expected on that, as well as Ventura Crossing, which is up on 15th Avenue. And now we'll talk about the quick project updates, Midtown 7th Avenue Apartments, Building 1. They're looking to have certificate of occupancy in May of 2027. So it's getting really close. It's quite a difference in Lacey Midtown to see that large apartment building going up.
Yeah.
We don't have a timeline for Building 2 just yet, but this Building 1 will add 150 new apartment units into Lacey Midtown. MJR has also recently completed the interior TI for the Bottega restaurant, so that's an exciting new addition as well in Midtown and Huntemer Park. We've also received building permits for the Yard, which is right across the street from 7th Avenue Apartments on College and 7th Avenue. It's actually both sides of 7th Avenue. So this is the tap house and outdoor recreation space designed to provide some open space amenities for not only the apartment residents, but also other residents of the city of Lacey as well.
Oh,
We have
it's going to go on both sides.
so pickleball or sport courts on the south side of 7th Avenue, and then the tap house, as well as room for potentially food trucks
Yeah.
on the north side as well.
Okay.
and
I was,
outdoor
I was,
space.
I was wondering what they're going to do with that other spot, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's really a fun project. We do have permits in for that and are waiting for, we've issued our preliminary, or our first round of comments, and we're waiting for resubmittal from MJR on that development. At South Sound Center, J&I continues to move forward with their redevelopment of the Sears building. They're actively completing their tenant improvements so they can move in by the end of this year. They'll have 2 additional tenants in that space, and they're actively recruiting on that. I don't believe, or they haven't shared with us if they've signed anybody yet on those 2 spaces. They also still intend to complete a restaurant on out in the northeast parking field, so hopefully we'll see some additional movement on that at some point in the future. You've probably also heard that CDC has sold South Sound Center. We have tried to get in touch with the new owner, Tourmaline Capital. It's been a challenge to get in touch with a representative from that new ownership group, but we're trying and that to get in touch with them so that we can start working on our South Sound plans. Yes.
I'm sorry, what is a goldfish
Oh,
swim
the
school?
Goldfish Swim School. It's going into the old. Not Ruby Tuesday morning. The old Tuesday morning, which is near Pacific
Yeah.
Avenue, and it's a swim school. So swim lessons. So
Oh, I see.
they're building a pool inside.
Wow.
That's currently under construction, digging
That's
out
for
the foundation.
everybody?
Yes,
It's- okay.
it is. Yep, anybody who wants to pay for swimming lessons can get it there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, pretty cool. 15th Avenue, 15th Avenue projects, these were in the works for a long time. They're finally almost built out. This was 363 new units on the north side of 15th Avenue. So 15th Avenue has really evolved over the last several years. Residents, and what's exciting is that residents can now more easily access 15th Avenue with the opening of the College Street extension this year. So that is a really exciting public works project and has taken a lot of pressure off of Livingston Drive and that neighborhood.
Like what good annexation does.
The Hickory project, I've talked about this one for a really long time, and it took a really long time to get some buildings there, but Ole Ortho has opened its doors, as well as the Pacific Laser Eye Clinic, so that's some good new medical uses up in the northeast area. And at Hogan Bay Town Center, all the commercial has been developed, and the first of the 4 apartment buildings has been finalized. That's what you see going up right now, the 4 to the east of Hogan Bay Town Center. That's all going to be residential in that area with some first floor commercial in the first phase. Again, the first building occupancy in August, the second building is going in December, and then the buildings 3 and 4 to the north will go follow the same timeline next year that 1 and 2 are this year. So occupancy in August and December for the final building, and that'll add, in all told, 350 new residential units on the north side of I-5 just in that development.
Where is the hotel then?
Yeah, where's the hotel then? I thought one of them was going to.
Right here.
Oh, right
Here
there.
it is, yes.
Oh, okay.
Nice
So it's
segue.
just to the south is the hotel. It's the treed parcel right now.
Oh, in behind it.
It is, so you go in on the roundabout and you would immediately turn right. It's to the right of the round, on this.
It's the triangle.
Yes,
that goes down
yep,
to Hogan
yep.
Bay, Marvin Bay,
Oh,
Yep.
What's the name of the restaurant? The Mexican restaurant?
Mayan.
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 Yep,
Right across
yep,
from Mayan.
yep. So this is two hotel buildings, and we do have an update on these. The Homewood Suites, their permits are ready to go. Their grading permits. We expect to see some site activity on that parcel this fall. So that is actually really exciting. In addition, the Marriott Hotel, I can't remember which brand of the Marriott Hotel it is, up at Providence or adjacent to Providence in Britton Parkway. They have also submitted their building permits, so it looks like they are moving forward on that one. 362 new hotel rooms across those three those three hotel buildings on the north side of I-5 once we get those constructed.
Wow.
And Homes on Martin is also nearing completion. 96-unit apartment building with some ground floor commercial. They expect to request occupancy by summer of 2027. And 2 new single-family plats. This is Morel Meadows and Monarch Meadows, which include 312 new single-family units. We've seen some of the single-family at Morel come in already. Their final plat for Phase 2 is going to come and to get approved by council in early September. Between Morel Meadows and Monarch Meadows, which is just to the east, it's another 312 single-family units. And finally, to wrap up, new projects underway, the Leaf Education and Family Center, so this is the North Thurston project, and site work is underway at that location, and permits are approved and ready to be issued. So that wraps up projects under construction or approved and almost under construction. And just a few minutes ago, I mentioned a couple new projects, and I don't have slides of them all because we'd be here a really long time. But I will just mention some of the big high visibility new land use applications that we have in the pipeline. The first one is the McClanahan Village in Neal Commons. This is the Housing Authority project at College and 37th. That includes 60 low-income and senior residents. It's been submitted for review. It's been routed. Public notice has been provided, and Reese Vant, the planner, is taking comments on that currently. He's also taking comments on another single-family cottage development. It's kind of a cool project. It's located on Yelm Highway at Lake Point Drive. This is the Taylorwood Cottages. It's 48 units of cottage housing. It's small units, 8 to 1,200 square feet with a pedestrian-focused site plan. So parking is de-emphasized, and there's lots of open space between units. It's a really neat project. We also have Parkside Place plat, which is one of the very last large lots in the Summerwalk development. It's a 54-unit development on a parcel immediately adjacent to Rainier Vista Park. That's in for review. That's a plat as well as a rezone, so that council will see sometime this fall. And then the Cove at Long Lake, which is on the north side of Long Lake, and it's a 26-unit development. All told, 200 new single-family units in the pipeline or in land use application stage. I didn't provide slides of them, but the link in your packet should take you to our current projects page, which will provide all the information if you wanted to look at that, as well as any public who's interested. They'll tell you the planner if you want to provide comments as well. I'll show you those projects as well as all the other projects that our current planners are working on right now. And then finally, one last update, and this is in regards to our ADU pre-approved ADU design program. And I'll let Vanessa jump in here if I miss anything on this, because she and Terry have really been working on this primarily. But we do continue to offer our pre-approved ADU plans to the public. Currently, there's 4 options available: a 400, a 600, 800 square feet. We recently added a 1,000 square foot 3-bedroom option. Over the past 2 years, we've only issued 2 or 3 permits on our pre-approved plans. And the feedback we've received is that even though the permit process is simple and cost-effective, the cost to construct some of these units is really high. So to try to address this, Vanessa and Terry are currently working to add 2 new plans to the portfolio. They're working directly with Olympia Master Builders to design plans that are designed to be more cost-efficient, with options to add ADA compliance and compatibility, as well as options for net zero construction and with solar panels as well, as other energy efficiency items. The downside to these plans is they probably won't be as architecturally pleasing as some of the ones we're already offering, because it's more expensive to make them look a little bit nicer. So these may be a little bit more basic on the back end, but they are intended to be designed as more cost-effective to construct. We don't have any designs finalized or anything to look at this point, but that's an update we'll be excited to bring back to you, and we have more details on it in the future. So that concludes my update. I'm sure I didn't cover everything. I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
You want to
Go
go
ahead.
first?
Go ahead.
Definitely appreciate you guys looking into lower costs for the ADU programs. I've heard the same thing over the years. It's just too much. I could just go and buy myself a nice motorhome, park in the back of my house, and save myself a whole bunch of money. So was definitely looking forward to seeing some lower cost options. I love what the Artisan Group did. I just know what the feedback has been. I did have a question about the Hicks Lake project. We had so much intense discussion on that one, and I was thinking maybe we'd see it tonight. Obviously when we have land use issues, a lot of people show up, and a lot of people showed up for that one. So will there be an update on that one coming soon?
The update is they probably need to go back through land use approval because their permits have expired. Their land use permit approvals have expired.
Okay. And then also I see the project on Willamette Drive
the
is
market?
moving along really well, and they're going to be completed probably early next year.
Probably early next year. Yep. Meridian Market, that's Meridian Market.
Okay,
Yep.
that's Meridian
Yep.
Market.
And that's going to be the market, the 4 gas pumps, and then they've got an additional tenant space that I think is intended to be a restaurant. They don't have a user for that at this point.
Okay, and that additional tenant space is above?
No, it's on the ground floor. That additional space above, I think, is office really for the market.
Okay, gotcha.
And is your presentation tonight kind of taking the place of the summer tour bus tours that we've been doing?
That's why I just asked Rick.
Oh, does Rick want to answer?
That's okay.
I'll let you answer.
We didn't plan for the bus tour this summer. Last year, what we put together was a driving tour. I think, when did we present that? Did we present that maybe last fall? the
There was
driving
an
tour?
opportunity to have a self-driving mobile tour because of the challenge of logistics and schedule, and we're going in the budget, and we're facing the same issues this year. Is just there's a lot of it's hard to find that time of a council meeting that it's not fully scheduled to create that time. So again, we can look at having some level of bus tour, and one of the things we've talked about in that shift is, do we look at it on a regular work session night, or do we look at it as a opportunity on a Saturday where it kind of be a little bit less formal, and whoever wants to attend can go through that tour. But we haven't really meshed on a good recommendation yet. In the meantime, we're just trying to get as much information on our websites, as well as having Sarah provide this type of update tonight so we can get a sense what's been happening and going on.
There is a lot of value of going out and actually looking at the project and knowing, what each project is, where it's at in its phase and completion, because, the public, we get this all the time as elected officials. It's like, so what's going on this corner and that? Well, if it's gone through its normal process, we've never seen it. If it's a part of the approved zoning, right, and it will not go in front of this council, and so it's nice to get a little more heads up on what's going on, just because we get asked the question all the time, and it's really tough. Like, I don't know what's going on there. It's
shoot a lot of
aren't you
emails
the
to
mayor?
Rick.
I'm like, oh,
I
yeah.
shoot a lot of emails to Rick. Hey, Rick, what's going on
Yeah.
here? 25 people have asked me about this one.
Oh, yeah, it happens all the time. So there is some benefit in going out there and seeing that. But
Yeah,
if we have to do it on a work session, I think still it's probably worth it.
Well, I think it's worth to have some more conversation with council about how we schedule it and revamp it, because it was a big logistics. We had intercity transit provide a bus. We've had some joint meetings or joint, the planning commission invited other boards and everything. And now, looking forward, well, as I said, we can look at how that can be revamped. The challenge too with land use, as we know, is you can do that one time a year thing, tour, and go throughout the community, but those projects kind of take a while, and those comments keep going. So trying to keep that refreshed is also a challenge, and keeping that information flowing to council.
Yeah, as Andy said, it's good to actually see it, as it's going up, but also the collective impact.
Yeah.
When you look at the whole city and all the new development, and you get a bigger appreciation of how Lacey is growing, and, how that's reshaping our community.
Yeah, especially all that northeast Lacey. It really is amazing. Every time it seems like I go over that side of the freeway, there's something new that's popping up, and so that area has expanded so much. Anyway,
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question. I think I went to the McClanahan Village
Yes.
community, okay, yeah. Is that the only senior housing project in the queue?
In the queue, I would
Okay.
say in the queue, yes.
All right.
Yep, yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did you mention 41st in?
I did
Mar-
not
okay.
mention 41st and Marvin. 41st and Marvin, it's a 180-unit apartment complex at the northeast corner of the Marvin Road roundabout. 15,000 square feet of mixed-use commercial. That has some, it's in the neighborhood commercial zone, so it meets the requirements of the new neighborhood commercial zoning chapter that was passed just a few years ago, which required, in order to do standalone multifamily, they also had to include 50 years of low-income housing, meeting 60% of the annual median income. So it's got a good portion of low-income housing. The project got land use approval, I believe, back in June. It did get appealed. So it's, we're going through the appeal process right now.
Okay. Did someone in the area appeal it?
The HOA of the Hawks Prairie Community Association appealed it.
Okay. Anyone else?
Good times.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
And our next agenda item is the council vacancy appointment process. Rick, and if we need
Yeah.
to jump in there.
Happy to get some slides up on the screen here in just a little bit. One of the items with former council member Dunning now, that's going to be tough to get to that transition, but leaving the council now, it's the opportunity for the city council to go through the process of appointing his replacement. I believe only 3 of the current council members have been through this process before, back in 2019. What we're going to look at proposing today is very similar to that process that last experienced in 2019. One other thing too to note, and it was asked me earlier about the council policies and that formal action by the council to accept the written resignation and why that was the case, because state law doesn't require it. The thought struck me that, well, it's more likely to have that official action so that you can clock the time period for filling a replacement, so there's no ambiguity about a verbal or written resignation and when that official action took place. So that's really helpful in mapping out the timeline for filling a council vacancy.
I agree. How we dealt with that in the past is when we got the letter of resignation, they put the date on it. And so that would start the clock in the past, just for a heads up.
Now we have official in the minutes, that action, and it doesn't matter,
Okay.
date receipt, and we don't really have date receipts now, so. So there are some basic requirements under state law on filling council vacancies. They're very basic. The process is really left up to the local jurisdictional elected body. It is subject to RCW 23.101, and really, it just comes down to it's the timeline. The city council has 90 days from the point of resignation to appoint the replacement. If the city council cannot find a suitable candidate or cannot agree on a candidate within that 90 days, then that appointment moves up to the Board of County Commissioners. And then the Board of County Commissioners would have 180 days to take action to fill that vacancy. And if they cannot do so, then it can go up to the governor of the state of Washington. So again, it's really important that the council, we follow this timeline and process and provide ample time for that deliberation, because it's an important decision for the council to make, and we don't want to have the other jurisdictional bodies making that decision for you. Candidates must, on the day of appointment, meet the same qualifications as would be required for anybody eligible for election. And while the council may consider and discuss qualification in executive session, any interviews and selection must be held in public pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act. So there's some gray area, and as we go through this process, we'll have consult Dave on the parameters of that executive session and how that could be utilized, but we want to make sure too that we show that transparency to the public, because this is, again, an important appointment process. So what are the eligibility requirements for holding office? Well, it's pretty straightforward. You must be a United States citizen, 18 years of age or older, a registered voter within the jurisdiction that you seek to represent, in this case, the city of Lacey, resident of the state, county, and precinct, or in this case, the city of Lacey. And in the case for in the city, resident must have at least 1 year before their election, may not hold any other public office that or employment within the city except as permitted under RCW.
So in this case, they must be a city resident for at least 1 year once the appointment's made.
Correct.
So they could right now be here less than a year, but by the official appointment date, if they're here for a year, then they qualify.
Yep.
Okay.
And then also, of course, not currently incarcerated for a felony. So basically, on the timeline that the state provides, that 90 days, the resignation occurred tonight on August 18th at the adjournment of this meeting. The official seat is vacant. 90 days out from tonight would place the appointment need to occur, or actually the swearing in would need to occur by November 15th. And then, of course, whoever is appointed would be required to run for elective office the next election cycle that position, in this case, position number 3 is up for election. So that individual that would be appointed would, if they want to, again, continue to serve, they would have to run as a candidate in the November 2nd, 2027 election.
So they have to file by next May.
Correct. And so, and then once that election occurs, whoever wins that election would immediately take office. So they wouldn't wait till the cycle, they would immediately take office right after that election.
So it wouldn't be wait till January, it would be immediately after the,
They'd immediately assume office.
after official results come out.
Correct.
Okay.
And I believe that happened the last time we had a seat open.
It did, yeah.
Just wait until the election was certified.
Right, you had to wait for certification.
Usually a few weeks after the election day.
Right. So to refine that timeline a little bit, Shannon and the clerk's office and I put together what kind of the timeline could look like for the council. And again, tonight, receiving that official resignation and taking action on it. Also tonight, having the conversation about what that process looks like. But also one of the things we want to try to get from the council is some direction on the information and format and questions you would like to have on the application. Because if we were able to get that direction tonight, an agreement, we can be ready to advertise this position. We'll finalize the application by this Friday and set up for the notice of application availability next Monday, August 24th. Then we can have a 3-week advertisement period for people to consider and submit their applications, with that recruitment potentially closing on September 18th, that Friday. And then that will allow the possibility, or last work session in September, the 22nd, to get an initial review of the application submitted, and then we can also further define what that process looks like moving forward. One of the things we don't know is how many interested parties there would be, so you could have a handful of applications, or you can have a whole lot, and that's one of the decision points the council is going to need to make, is how many applicants are you going to want to interview? If you want to interview all, or sort the list down. But one of that initial review will be done by staff to make sure they make those basic requirements that I mentioned earlier in the presentation.
That's the only thing staff would be looking at, though, right?
Correct.
If they meet those legal requirements.
Eligibility requirements, period. And we report out so that council's aware that of any of those that were removed from the process because of that issue. And then if we're able to start that review on September 22nd, then that will give, between that and the first meeting in October, opportunity for council to review those applications, and potentially by October 6th, start selecting the candidates you would like to bring in for interviews. And once that decision's made, then we'd have between October 7th through October 29th to figure out a regular hearing date to hold those candidate interviews. What has been done in the past was it was not on a regular council meeting night. It was another night of the week, and it usually started earlier because of the format was always to hold the interviews. Once the interviews were concluded, council would start deliberating and potentially taking action that night. So again, depending on how many you bring in for interview, that could be a fairly long meeting, but that would be how we would coordinate and know what we have at the time we have the closure of the applications.
We really won't know that until we see how many applications come in, because if we have, 10 applications come in, we can probably agree, have some sort of agreement of who if we're going to interview for them all, and get that done at night. But if we had 30, right, that might take a couple.
As I recall last time, if could be correct, off on this, we had 13 or 14 though, we had a fair number.
Yeah.
And we did interview all candidates, all applicants got interviewed.
Yeah.
So what does that
As I
look
recall.
like? I'm trying to picture that. Do we sit here and then each of the candidates
Yep.
will come in here?
Yep.
All together?
No,
One at a time.
one at a time.
We all
It-
asked
it-
the same question, we each asked the same question of each candidate.
Okay.
Yeah, and so what happened is, and how we typically did that is, and we did it in order of when they turned in their application.
Yep.
And then we interviewed them all, same questions, one at a time.
Is that on camera?
It's on camera, everything's on camera.
But the other candidates are held out in another room, so that they're not hearing the answers, so that they're not getting any unfair advantage of hearing the people that go before them.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to have some conversations down the line here about how we actually select.
Yeah.
I think the process that we've used in the past is confusing.
Yeah.
It's unfair. I mean, some applicants don't even get voted on.
Yeah.
And,
Well, and so I brought this up, this will be my fourth time going through this. The last two times were different than the prior two times. The prior two appointments, we did go to an executive session to talk about qualifications of each candidate. We decided the next two, either there was a recommendation from Dave, or I'm not sure how it worked out, to skip that process.
I thought we did do it last time.
No, we didn't. And so,
Could've sworn
so
we did
that's,
do an executive
so,
session last
I
time.
checked or Alyssa checked the schedule and didn't have an
Did not?
executive
no.
session in the last
And
process.
that's where I think it caused some confusion, because without sort of talking about qualifications and hearing from each, council members where they believed, the qualifications of each council, we had no idea, right, we had no idea where a majority of what they were looking for in a candidate come out. And so then it was just the first person to get 4 votes was in. It was really, it did kind of throw everything off. But we got to be careful. I don't want to, break any rules, but I would prefer that there was an executive session where we did talk about.
The other thing that added a lot of confusion, not as much in the last one, but the one previous to that, was that council members voted for more than one candidate, more than one applicant.
Yeah.
That created a mass confusion.
Well, and that's how it goes, though. It's the person to get 4. First person to get 4.
And that's why it's important when you cast your vote, you're voting for the person you really want, at least that, a first time through, because you may not all agree at that first time, but then you go through that process again, deliberate, go through the process again until you can get to a 4-vote agreement. And we can also talk about the design of this process and have more information as we get closer, because we do have some time, because once we start providing notice that we're accepting applications and starting that application period, we also need to work with council, okay, let's start working what type of interview questions. So there's going to be some process and reiteration back and forth between the city manager's office and the council about, framing what questions and what that process will ultimately look like. And then we'll also be able to refine some of those dates and start putting them on the calendar so that make sure council's available for these special meetings and any meetings we're having this conversation.
So for consistency, do all council members need to be present?
Yes.
Or can
Yep.
some of them, we could be online and some not?
Well, that's going to be up to the council, but my suggestion would be everybody be present, because it is an important potential deliberation.
Room, not online.
Right.
Just becomes a little more difficult for logistics. I know,
Right.
like October, for instance, I'm gone part of the month. I'm sure other people have.
Yeah.
That
Well,
becomes difficult.
we'll
But
provide some
work.
options, we'll look at and scheduling, but we'll try to get that that scheduling going sooner rather than later, so we can start preserving some dates.
And I do think, we need to get this out and get the applications coming in and cut it off as soon as possible so we know how many applications we're work with. We may need a day to go through the applications and make a decision point at that point. Again, I do think the conversation about an executive session or not an executive session is really important. After going through this a couple of times, I would prefer the executive session. I just think we can, have some sort of agreement on what the expectations of the qualifications for the next person, because without that, I think it just you just put your vote out there who you think would be but it was.
I agree.
You can feel ambushed.
I'll get the applications
We will.
individually, or do?
Yes,
They'll be in your packet.
Every one of them to read.
Do we need to finalize the whole process tonight before we can
No.
start this? Okay.
No.
Great. I was like, how far into the weeds are we going to have to
But-
get into this?
But this is also helpful for me as well to hear where kind of the council is and how to start, getting more correctly in refining this process.
The part you need sooner rather than later is the application questions, right? So we can
Which
get
I'll have
that
some slides
proper.
coming up.
Because then we have the time period that they're applying for us to work through the rest of it.
Correct. And one thing I want to add, because just for the public's sake, in terms of the executive session, again, as council is fully aware, you could only talk about qualifications. There's no decisions, no other activity, and then you come out and continue the deliberation in public as terms of that process. So we want to make sure that when we set this process up, that the council has the full faith and appearance of transparency.
But discussion of those qualifications, I think missing that the last couple of times, I think it caused a lot of confusion, because I think it's really important that the council sort of agree on what we expect for the qualifications of the next council member is. And if you can't discuss that at all, then it left a lot of ambiguity during the whole thing.
Yeah, I was here for the last two. You did the one,
Yeah.
I think you did one additional one, because
Yeah.
I know, because I was one of the applicants on that one.
That's right.
But in the two that I've been involved in, they were not the smoothest of processes,
No.
let's just say.
Yeah.
It's a difficult process, no
It
matter
is.
how you do it.
Yeah.
There's no easy way to do this.
Quick question. Before, Andy, you've done this 4 times, it sounds like. And in all 4 of those times, it was like first person to 4 votes is on. Is there any way to do like a ranked choice voting, so that way we can pare it down to a certain number, and then we can start that process?
Yeah, I'm happy to have that conversation. I think where it becomes important is how many applicants we get, right? If we get through, a dozen or less, I think it's a little bit different than if we have 30 applicants, and so I think we have time to have those discussions.
Okay.
I think let's focus on that sort of outline right now. And then this is one of those things that every council meeting between here and we're going to sort of check in on where we're at and going along.
And real quick too, can you maybe use that to get down your final slate
Yes.
for motion, the final ones you want to consider? Because you're going to go for interview process and then make motions of who you want to consider, and then that's how you kind of pare down the process.
So
But
that's where I'd agree with. If we have a bunch, then let's talk about maybe a choice, doing it that way. Because I think if we interview 30 people, I mean, that would be.
That many, or is it always around?
Yeah, last time was
It totally
14.
depends. One year we had 9. We've had more than that. We've whittled some down before, and so it's just I have no idea until we get the applications in.
So with this tentative schedule, again, if we get moving quickly, that gives us a lot of time, the month of October, to work around vacations or out of the unavailabilities, to be able to have plenty of time to make the council to make that appointment by the November 15th. Just confirm with Dave that it's not sworn in by that time frame. It's the council making the appointment. So add some time too, if there's some, again, deliberations and conversations, it gives you some more flexibility to have that time until we don't miss that deadline. So again, like I said tonight, we're looking at just the schedule looks okay to start out with, but also the application format and questions. So what what we've done is we've really modeled this after the previous appointment process, application materials with some slight modifications, but pretty much it's what we've done before. So basically, an application that would include area or information that would be contact information, statement of interest. Why is that person interested in serving on the council? Again, effectively a cover letter, kind of an outline of their education, life, work experience, those type of things that would add to their experience, which would be effectively a resume. What special skills or talents would they bring to council? What's that unique niche that they'll feel why they can serve? And then what is their vision for the city of Lacey? And what are their top 3 priorities that they would believe the city council should focus on in the next year, 26, 27? And what do you see as gaps in the diversity of representation currently existing on the city council, and how would your participation address that perceived gap? That's something that was a more contemporary question. And then, of course, those basic eligibility requirements. Do you meet the state requirements, and listing those basic eligibilities to hold office? And how long have you lived in the city limits? Of course, that minimum 1-year residency required. And then are you interested in running in November of 2027? And then their signature and a certification that all, that everything's accurate on their submittal. So not a lot, but enough to give some basic information to move through, and then of course you get more refined when you develop those interview questions. So I'm gonna just kind of stop there. I see some interest in some of those statements, so I'd love to have the council talk about if this format, should it be modified, changed, or as is, and we can move forward.
Well, yeah, I think the outline here is pretty good. I think adding the, I think there's a couple step process here. There's this process to get their basic information and their vision, tells us a lot. And then there's the questions we're going to ask during the interview process. Mm-hmm. And so we don't want, those to overlap. And so those are, I think, the meat and potato, like, questions of asking them, what their thoughts are on X, Y, and Z. That should be held off to the interview process. Yeah. And this is more of a high level, what's your vision of Lacey? So even adding the diversity of representation.
I have issues with that question.
Yeah, I think that's a question we can, could ask during the interview process, but not necessarily here.
Well, I mean, again, if we're running for election, there is no, diversity is the decision of the people that elect the elected body. Mm-hmm. It's really not, I don't see it as a question that belongs on that application.
Okay.
That's the only one I have an issue with.
Yeah, I think that is a question for but this is, again, different than someone who's going to be selected by the people, right?
Well, yeah, this is a decision. Us making the decision rather than the people.
Right. This is us making the decision, and what do we see? What would we like to see as a council member representing the community based on the experience that we've had so far? And one of them is will they fit in, and be a productive member, and can we work together? And even, not that we agree with them on everything, but can we work with them? And that's not always super easy to get out of in a small sample size, right? It's really hard. And so, like I said, I don't mind if a council member, for their question, that they really care about this and they want to ask that question during the interview. I think so that's the other thing that's happened is we sort of, as we've gotten through the process, when it comes to the actual questions, we put in, like, what do you want as your question during the interview process? And each council member has sort of put in a question at that point as during the interview process, not this process.
So in about 2 or 3 weeks, we'll ask the council to start submitting questions you would like to have asked, and then we'll pull those together, and then you'll get at least one question apiece.
That's an individual personal deal compared to a basic,
get qualified,
high level.
Do interviewees get the interview questions prior to the interview?
No.
Not in the past, no.
Okay.
So just want to get everybody's thought on this, because I see that what I'm sensing is that that first bullet as a question might be removed from the application, but that could be something considered in
If
the
they- if
interview
that council member-
process.
If that's a question someone wants,
Wants,
yeah.
puts on their list of questions that they want to ask.
Okay.
I'm curious about the origin of that. Is that something that our Commission on Equity?
No, we haven't consulted any advisory boards on this process because, again, we're acting fairly quickly. It was more of the mindset of not necessarily, well, that's one of the challenges with the terminology because it's looking at representation within the community, and, it could be, what perspectives or thoughts or experience or those type of things. And so, if they would fill a particular coverage.
I think
But
as
again,
I think for a council member, that could be important where you want to make sure, and I think this has been a pretty good value on this council all along, is we've tried to get a wide range of backgrounds and, thoughts where we can, may not all agree, but we can all agree to work together and for the benefit of our community. So that diversity is not just the diversity of ethnicity.
Diversity of thought is
Yeah.
necessary for a good
and
elected
part of it
body.
was,
But that question isn't really about that.
Well, it could be.
It could be, but.
But it comes off as diversity, it comes off, it
Absolutely.
doesn't come off as diversity in thought or
Right.
diversity in.
and that's what the
opinion.
intent was.
I'm sure that was the intent.
And a lot of it is because using that experience with the advisory board appointments, it's always been since I've been involved with it, with the mayor and the previous, Mayor Clarkson was looking at making sure you have a broad mix, not only of different ages, perspective, different areas of the community, and trying to create that broader, and that was the intent of the question, but it also could be misleading to the public.
I didn't come up with that, by the way. I appreciate you having my back on, I do ask that question. I always during the interview process for our boards and commissions, the question is like, okay, what voice are we missing on the
Right.
boards and commission? I've always asked that,
Oh, yeah.
I passed that along to you. And so I'm sure that's where that's coming from. But again, I think we can whittle that down better if that's something that.
We can
the
remove
council-
that one,
yeah.
and if there's something you'd like to ask instead, or we can just go with what's currently on the screen without this question.
I think we can learn a lot from, why they want to run, what's their vision of the community.
Yeah.
And what they think are their
Very big- yeah, that's a big
biggest,
deal.
right? I mean, that's
a big deal.
It's
Yeah.
a big deal, right? I think we'll learn a lot based on what from there. And then we'll come up with interview questions and we'll dive a little bit deeper. Yeah?
Yeah, I want to just check in with our newer council members, Councilor Turner and Councilor Sue, just to make sure they have any questions or anything, and
So do they ask us questions? No?
They haven't in
We
the
just
past.
ask them and they don't ask us anything?
No,
It doesn't have to be a one-way street.
yeah,
Well,
I think,
We can change
it.
we can change that. I think, all of the interviews I've been doing for all these years, at the end of all the interviews, I always ask, is there anything you want to ask us?
Okay.
Right. And so I think can be maybe a question that we ask at the end of it. I mean, I think we can talk about that more in the future. I've always asked it because.
I've always done in the private sector.
Because I've always learned a lot about that,
And we do it on advisory boards.
on advisory. I always
We
ask
even do
that.
that in the private sector.
Yeah, of course.
So.
And is this time, I mean, do we say for each applicant, we've allotted 20 minutes? Or
Well,
what- or
yeah,
whatever?
we'll have some type of structure.
Depending on how many applicants we have.
it depends on the applicants, but typically, it's a guesstimated time, and of course, just like anything, it's how you run the interview process, and, may have to move on to the next question. It all depends on how that format, but you try to create a time allotment for each candidate to have
Okay.
enough time to answer questions, but not continue on.
Do we put a timer up like we do for public comment?
Minutes, you got 10 minutes.
I think.
It's up to the discretion of council.
Yeah.
If we're really going after a quality candidate, I'd rather not be a clock.
No, and I think, again, a lot of that will come to light once we see our applicant pool and know how much time, because then we're going to be able to figure out, okay, can we do this in a night? Will it take 2 nights? So on and so forth,
Yeah, I
We'll
get
see.
that. I was asking because I know in conducting interviews, sometimes some people talk a lot.
Yeah.
And then other people not so much. And so I want to make sure that the process is at least,
Fair.
Balanced, yeah. We want to be a balanced process, yeah.
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 Councilor Sue?
I have one question. It's about one of the questions on the next slide, which is, are you interested in running for election in November of 2027? Do we feel like that's a needed question, or is that because it should be known that it's a position that'll be up for election starting that next year? Like,
Well, you're right. We've had this discussion back and forth on this council many times on, are we looking for someone just to fill this out and that's all we care about? Or are we looking for someone who we believe, does want to run again and not just be a placeholder? And that's a discussion that I think, we can,
And
it's a tough
But
question.
it could be a question that we do in an interview rather than that, if everyone's not comfortable with that question. Because there are, and Andy and I have had that conversation in the past when we've had these. Some people feel it's important that we put someone on who is planning on doing this for a long, and others don't. Other people think that it's better to fill the spot. Whether they're running or not's irrelevant and shouldn't be part of the decision.
And one thing I just want to say too, it also gives that understanding too, that when you apply for this, you're not going to be, you have to run to continue on the seat. But it also, just by marking yes or no, doesn't commit them, because they're always going to have that choice. It's just an indicator of making sure they're aware, and then make some, some thought behind their application.
Come up with 20 grand.
And again, that's why I do think it's nice to talk about qualifications, and we can have that argument. We can have that over qualifications is this something that we think is important or not, right? But we haven't had that opportunity last two times because we just didn't have it. We went interview and right into vote. It was like.
So I just want to.
I just didn't want to discourage anyone from possibly running or applying if they're like, I'm on the fence about it. I would like to talk to people more about what it means to run. But if the first thing they have to do is to put in this application by like 3 weeks from today,
We could always
that
put a
becomes
little
problematic.
note underneath
Also,
that
serving
question.
for that
It's not
time
a-
period
not a-
until
not a-
May of next, if they get appointed now, serving till May have a big influence on whether they want to run or not, once they see what that experience is.
Next day, like,
Positive
yeah,
or
I was going
negative?
to, but I don't know about it.
Just like your first 2 or 3 council meetings, that's how things come up, right?
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go. There you
And
go.
we could put a disclaimer on there that this is not a commitment either
Yeah,
way.
that'd
It's
be
just an
nice.
indicator.
yeah.
I have one last question. So if for some reason, we select a person and they're not able to finish the year, do we start this process all over?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if they resign again, then yeah, we have 90 days to appoint someone and start all over again.
But we'll have a practice run.
Yeah.
We'll have a practice run.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. Okay,
So
does
is
everyone
it-
feel good so far about?
On these application questions, we'll strike the question on the previous page related to diversity of perspective, and this run with the remaining questions.
Are we leaving or removing the interested in running one?
Well, that's a good question, because I was taking that it was okay to leave it on, but I want to double check.
Add the disclaimer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there was a mention of a disclaimer, and I
Yep.
think that could solve that issue for
Yep.
me.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Not that they have to, it's just
Not
another
a commitment, yeah.
point, if they're interested in or not, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could have somebody really qualified who hasn't made up their mind, and that puts a lot of pressure
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah, I would support removing the question.
I appreciate your patience tonight answering all these questions, so
No,
thank you.
no, that's what it's for.
Really important process.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, I got some direction. We can move forward with finalizing that process. We'll work with the clerk's office and the communication team to prepare for the announcement to go out on Monday. And then once we start that process, we'll start having some more conversations to refine the back end in terms of how we conduct interviews, dates, as well as interview questions, and then process for, depending on how many applicants we receive, what the council wants to do in terms of any type of, culling of those applications.
Does it have to post for 3 weeks?
That's what the posting was for the previous time, was 3 weeks. So I went with that.
Good idea.
We can go 4 weeks, but that eats into the back end time,
no, I'm
or
not
less than
saying
that,
that.
we'll give people plenty of time to respond.
Yeah, I think
I agree.
3 weeks, 2 weeks?
I like it. I mean, if you're interested, you're interested. If you're not, you're not, right? It just gives us more time to get through it all.
Well, we
your
plan
thoughts
on
those?
pushing this out on our website, social media, press releases, and we can, do some continual pushing. I just want to the reason why 3 weeks too is make sure we have plenty of opportunity to get people to be aware and to make that decision too.
Close.
In the previous
Yeah.
times we've done this, has it always been 3 weeks or?
The last time we did it was 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's always
I
been,
think we need 3 because
it's always been 3 weeks from what I can remember.
you
I
can't
don't remember.
quite count on the same circuits for getting information out to the
Well,
community.
and what's interesting, if I remember right, we got like a couple applications right at the beginning and then a bunch of applications right at the end. So it,
But I think that would be the same whether you did 2
2
weeks
weeks
or
It could be.
whatever amount of time
Yeah.
you did, they're all gonna tend to come in that last part of it,
probably,
whatever it is, I
probably.
think.
But I think I'm comfortable with the 3 weeks.
I'm good either way.
I think
I
the
like 2
schedule's been
weeks.
built in such a way that we will have time on the end. If at 3 weeks, we'll have time on the end to get all the work done that we need to get
Yep.
done.
I believe so. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I'm down with 3.
3,
I'm down with 2.
3,
3.
3,
Leave it at 3.
3, all right.
Agreed is.
We'll do 3 weeks.
I like your your enthusiasm though.
Aaron wants to get on it.
Okay, so, thank you, council,
on a
so we'll
2-week
get this
vacation,
going,
you
and,
didn't know.
we'll see what this process starts looking like.
Yeah, do you have anything in your city manager report?
I do not tonight.
Okay. I don't have anything under my mayor's report either. Council, Deputy Mayor?
I do not have a report.
Lenny? No report. Everyone was off this past month, so
Yeah, I have one report. The lot, that's the Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, Thurston County Clean Water Alliance met on the 12th. We are beginning a budget process there. They're on a 2-year budget cycle, so it's quite a buildup to that. We directed staff to send the preliminary rates to the partner jurisdictions, and we're recommending the 3% that has been the case for each year. So that should be coming very soon. We reviewed a draft joint resolution on the Deschutes Estuary Restoration Project. One of the things that they were successful in doing is removing some of the proposals in the agreement that had an Olympia-only application that, Lot just didn't feel comfortable saying, we, like, no, you take care of that on your side of the fence, and, let's keep this strictly to the group. So I think there was an amicable resolution of that. We got to hear about the education program, the Wet Science Center, how it came about, what's currently going on with the center, and there are plans for the future for new exhibits and perhaps even a new physical space for the Wet Science Center. We received a briefing on 2 upcoming major pump projects, and those will be kind of a big deal. And we accepted a $453,000 grant from the state for the Class A+ potable reuse demonstration project. Again, we would be the first in the state to do this, and we have 2 upcoming trips. One in September to go to Southern California to look at plants that are in various stages of producing potable water from reclaimed water, and one in Florida, probably in early November. And so I agreed to go on the Florida trip.
It's a good time to go to Florida, November.
Yeah, and
I'll do it.
it'll be interesting, because it's going to require the community to really try to get past, what do you mean you want me to drink treated sewer water? Kind of the yuck factor here. But it's, unfortunately, I think this is the water of the future as water supplies dwindle, and, we have to think beyond today and also.
It worked for GM.
Yeah, there you
well,
go.
pure water is pure water at the end of the day. It's a
Yeah.
chemical compound, wherever it came from.
Exactly. So, and Intercity Transit Authority meets tomorrow night, so I'll have something next week on that.
So I did blow it under my mayor's report, and it has to do with the next item, Councilmember Nick Dunning's, his meetings, right? And so until we have a new council member and we can talk about it then, Ryan, you're the backup on RHC.
VCB.
You're the backup on the VCB. There's one other that we don't have a backup for, which is for left board. Left board, and
We only meet quarterly.
only meet quarterly, and it would be my recommendation for Councilmember Turner to fill in on that. You're already on the Law and Justice Committee. You only meet quarterly. I know, believe it or not, back when you put in your original recommendations, you actually, that was higher on your list, if you remember right. But anyway, I think it just makes sense if you're willing to do that on a quarter basis. So,
And I can fill you in more on that because I chair that and have for many, many years.
yeah. So, okay?
Yeah.
Okay? So,
I don't know how it's going to go, who the new person's going to be, but I am, my situation has changed, and I am interested in being the backup for the housing.
okay.
And
Yeah, we need to now back up for the housing,
Okay.
right?
Do you want to talk about that tonight?
Well-
What's on tonight, or you want to?
We need a motion to accept Councilmember Turner to be the left board. I would make the motion that we appoint Turner to the left board.
Second?
Is there any discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Appointed unanimously.
Do we need a motion for Ryan for RHC?
No,
Or
no.
Because he's already the backup.
He's the backup. You're the backup for VCB.
Okay.
We do need a backup for RHC.
Which I'm willing to do.
Okay? I make the motion to have you be the backup for RHC.
second?
The move in second. Discussion?
I think you'll be a fine addition.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion unanimously carries as well. Thank you for stepping up. We will reassess all this when we get a new council member selected, but in the meantime, thank you for this. And we're not going to have a lot of time between that and the end, and what we'll probably do is, usually we do appointments for 2 years in the past. We'll probably look at reappointments back in January for the following year for our boards and commissions. I may step down from TGB, I don't know, so, anyway, we'll discuss that at that time. Okay,
Do we need to also approve Ryan is stepping up to be lead
no,
on the
no,
housing
because
council?
He's already on there.
he's already on that, and
Okay.
I guess we need a backup for you on the BCB.
Oh, right.
I mean, I'll be your backup on the BCB if you
Yeah, it's
need
only
it,
2 quarters, maybe,
yeah,
if that, quarter and a half.
yeah. Okay, do I need an appointment for me to be his backup on BCB?
We did from Aaron.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, so,
I would move Andy would be the backup for the VCB.
Second?
moved in second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously.
Well, there's no backup for Nisqually?
No, we don't, we don't have a backup from the Nisqually?
We do not have a backup to Ms. Qualley, I don't believe. I have to go back to look at her.
Because Nick was he
Yeah,
was my
we don't have,
backup.
we don't have backup for left one either, that's just why we had to do this. We can figure that out when it comes. Okay, well, we did some housekeeping there, you got all that? Okay, then we'll go on with council reports, Councilmember Turner.
I don't have a report, but I want to say again that I really, really enjoyed the community conversation, and thank you, Barbara, again for coming out and joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Councilmember?
Just one quick announcement, actually. Tomorrow is going to be the Thurston County Resource Hub's block party. It's going to be 11 to 3 tomorrow at 910 24th Way, Southwest Olympia. It's a free event for everyone. There'll be over 70 community organizations. They'll be offering free back-to-school vaccines for kids ages 4 to 18, haircuts, pet grooming, and vet care, health screenings. There's a blood drive. There's just going to be a lot of things happening right there. And so it's just just going to be a really good community resource and a community event. So I suggest everyone come on out and see what's already in your community.
Okay. Date and time on that again?
It's going to be tomorrow, August 19th, 11 to 3 p.m. at 910 24th Way Southwest, Olympia, Washington.
Great, thank you. And with that, we've reached the end of our agenda. So without objection, I'm going to call this council meeting adjourned. And as always, you keep it classy, Lacey.